guys are going to have to forgive me if I'm a little spastic on the controls for the next couple of days. The fellow who spoke to us in our first segment, Jeff Norton, is the host of, he's the host of Patriot FB and Patriot FB Radio. But in addition to that, which you can get to by going to patriotfb.com or patriotfbradio.com, but he's also the host of Midnight Patriot, and he has put together this new phone system that we're working on and working under right now. It will enable you to communicate with us during a live performance or a live program, and contact us and have your input in on a discussion. You know, it's been so long since I was able to bring phone calls onto the board that you're just going to have to forgive me if I fumble for a little bit till I get the strokes down. So that's what it is. If you'd like to contact us and participate in the program, you can call us at 573-453-5505. That's 573-453-5505. Now, in addition to that, if you'd like to communicate or listen to AVN at your leisure, because you can't necessarily do it while the program is operational, then you can always call our listen line. That number is 415-325-0725. That's 415-325-0725. That number is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and after about 10 o'clock in the morning, after our live program is over, you can listen to the program at your leisure for the remainder of the day or night. And so if you're traveling, you're going to be in the car for a while, you can just call in on your cell phone or your home phone, and it's a free service that's offered to us by a company called Audio Now, which I'm very grateful and appreciative for their efforts. And it's a great way for you to listen to the program and or share it with friends. 415-325-0725. Okay, let's talk a little bit about this IRS, the IRS bounty for information. Yesterday, I talked to you extensively about this, and the idea is that Catherine Albrecht has come out and made the statement that she is going to put together a fund that will enable individuals to crowdsource fund a $1 million bounty. And the bounty is to anyone in the IRS who will come out and be a whistleblower and expose, and it has to be brand new information. I mean, there's some limitations to it. You know, it has to be new information, it has to be verifiable, and it has to be able to convict people within the IRS for the betrayal of what they did and the use of the IRS as a weapon of mass destruction against the United States of America and the enemies of the Obama administration, or any other administration for that matter, by the way. Now, this is a different concept, and I actually I wish I had thought of it because I love it. And what it really is a crowdsourced or crowd-funded award for new and relevant evidence that implicates IRS senior leadership or the Obama White House and any officials surrounding it on the IRS scandal. Basically, doesn't it suck that we've gotten down to the point where we have to bribe people to come out and whistleblow to hold the government accountable? But, hey, you know what? If that's what it takes, I'm all for it. I actually want to take it one step further. I want to actually take it to the point where we build a fund where everyone, and I went through the numbers on this yesterday, there's an estimated 20 million of us who are real serious patriots. 20 million of us, if we each donated $5, we could take that money, and so that would be $100 million, and come up with 100 pools of cash that could be used, not just for the IRS, but the EPA, the ATF, the EPA. The list is endless. I mean, there's no limit. The truth is, America, that's one way that we can fight back. Now, Megyn Kelly yesterday interviewed Ms. Albrecht the other day and I want to play that segment for you because I think it was important. It's only a couple minutes, but I think it was an important one. Just bear with us.
The Kelly File exclusive. We are also tracking a new effort tonight to get more information on the IRS's targeting of conservative groups. In a unique new twist, one political group that was targeted is now offering up to $1 million for anyone who provides information leading to the conviction of anyone involved in this scandal. Catherine Engelbrecht is one of the alleged victims, as I mentioned, of the IRS targeting. She's the founder of True the Vote, and she has joined this campaign. Catherine, good to see you. It's interesting to hear J. Christian Adams talk about Elijah Cummings and his role on the Benghazi Select Committee, because he was the one really pushing the IRS to look into your group. And so let me first start with that. Your thoughts on his now being one of the chief investigators of a different scandal in Washington, Benghazi.
For the record, and I'm just going to pause this for a second, just so you understand, Elijah Cummings sat on the IRS investigative committee, and he was constantly throwing bombs into the testimony of everyone who was testifying against the IRS. And it was inexplicable that, I mean, we get it, he's a partisan and he's an ideologue, but I mean, nobody could figure out why this guy was working so hard to cover up. Then it turns out he was actually involved in the scandal, and he was sending letters to the IRS prompting them to continue and go and work even, get even deeper into illegal activities. I mean, it's unconscionable. And now this guy has been appointed by Nancy Pelosi to sit on the Benghazi investigation committee. I mean, unbelievable. This is a fox who's got blood all over its muzzle, and now they're going to put him in another chicken coop and ask him to be a guard.
I think it's outrageous. Elijah Cummings has committed time and again de facto per se against us, defamation per se against us, and the thought that he is now sitting on that committee to preside over what is certainly one of the greatest scandals this administration's been involved in is just it's disgusting.
So back to the IRS issue for you now, obviously much closer to your heart for many obvious reasons. What is it? It's a bounty, it's a reward, and what does somebody have to do to get it?
Yes, the IRS bounty is just that. It is the people's bounty for the truth, put together by a group called the Voters Trust. It is an opportunity for citizens to come forward and speak to the truth. If they have information that will reveal what is really happening inside of the halls of the IRS, this is a way to incentivize that truth to come forward. And frankly, for more citizens to come forward and tell the stories that I hear all too often, people all across this country that are being targeted by this government. This is a way to empower the American people to hold government accountable.
This is interesting. So basically, if somebody knows, let's say, what Lois Lerner knows, who has asserted her Fifth Amendment privilege and won't speak, if somebody knows what she knows but has remained silent thus far, you're trying to encourage somebody like that to come forward and tell your group, speak publicly, and if it leads to the arrest of somebody responsible for this whole scheme, then you're going to pay the reward.
That's exactly right. Something's got to give. We see the censures and the misdemeanors that's not going to get to the bottom of this. There will be more bobbing, more weaving. The American people need to know the truth, and this is one way to get at it, we think.
Catherine, do you think that this will bring out further victims as well? Because at this point, the IRS scandal broke more than a year ago. It feels like it's pretty well fleshed out in terms of who was targeted and who was not. Why do you need more victims to come forward and self-identify?
Well, in the case of the IRS scandal, I think the big question on the table now is where's the truth? Who knew what when? That answer is still lurking out there somewhere. But yes, without question, one of the goals of the Voters Trust IRS Bounty Project is to encourage people to come forward and tell more about what is happening. Stories I hear all the time, and not just the IRS. OSHA, Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, Bureau of Land Management, EPA, targeting citizens, targeting small businesses. This is happening on a level that I think would stun the average American citizen, but yet there's not really a repository, there's not a hub that's out there collecting those stories, and so that's what the IRS Bounty and Voters Trust is going to do, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
It's just so interesting because we started the show with this VA scandal and talked about the dangers potentially in big government trying to run big systems, and you all along have been an example of some other potential dangers of big government gone wrong on the citizenry. Catherine, good to see you.
There you go, folks. So here's the deal. I've created a hashtag today called Mutiny Bounty. And here's the game plan for this. You just simply put in the pound sign on Twitter and put in the word mutiny followed by the word bounty. In other words, this is a mutiny by the American people and utilizing a bounty. You know, I want you to understand the concept of something. There was a principle that was used by our founders during the early days of the founding of the creation of the nation. And there was a phrase called letters of marque and reprisal. And letters of marque and letters of reprisal were a license or a commission, if you will, to be used to put a private citizen in a position where they could capture and confiscate merchant ships of another nation. In other words, it kind of deputized an American citizen. They were issued to people to commit what would otherwise be considered like a piracy, okay? So if you were the captain of a ship, you were given a letter of marque, and it legally made you a police officer on the ocean, but representing the government. You were enabled to confiscate that ship, take it over, take the cargo from it, imprison the sailors, and so forth. And the concept of it was because the government knew, or I shouldn't say that, the individual who was issuing the letter of marque knew that we didn't have the wherewithal and the ability to do this on a national basis. We didn't have a Navy big enough to patrol the whole ocean. So these letters were essentially issued, and it says in the Constitution, it provides in Article 1, Section 8, the 11th clause, it says, Congress shall have power to declare war, grant letters of marque and reprisal, and make rules concerning captures on land and water. Now, in this case, what I'm suggesting is that we utilize the letter of marque and the principle of the letter of marque ourselves. We are, and there were a few rules. Let me read them to you. Names of person that are authorization to pass beyond borders with their command or their boat, right? Specifies the nationality of targets that were the cause of action. It authorizes the seizure and the destruction of assets or personnel that were targeted and what nationality they were from. It describes the offense for which the commission is issued as a reprisal, if it was a reprisal, or if it's a letter of marque, and a restriction on the time, manner, place, or amount of the reprisal. So here's my suggestion, America. We utilize the principle of the letters of marque, and we put a bounty out on the heads of traitors and liars, thieves, and corruption. Here's how it works. Mutiny Bounty is the hashtag. You can go straight to the website, which is called irsbounty.com. That's irsbounty.com. There you can make a direct donation, and it's a citizen donation or a business donation. The idea is to make sure that we have a way to hold government accountable by paying people to come forward and expose it. Apparently, it's not good enough that we need to save our nation. But I don't really care at this point, because I can tell you this. If we don't do something, and I mean something drastic and radical, to seize back control of the country, ladies and gentlemen, we're finished. We're done. And I'm okay with paying our countrymen to stand up and do the right thing. Now, it may even just be the fact that they say, listen, if I come out here, I'm going to lose my job and I'm going to be blackballed and I'll never get another job, and I specialize in something that is only functional as government. I mean, I get it, right? And So, but $1 million would, get me clean of my debt and allow me to, basically start over because I know I'm going to get fired. So I'm going to be back to a private citizen again. And at least it will allow me to, function. Okay, I'm cool with that. Let's do it. IRSbounty.com. And you start using the hashtag Mutiny Bounty. We are going to pay a bounty for mutiny. Period. The truth is, it may be the only way for us to save our nation. And that is shameful, but it's reality. This doesn't have to be, as Ms. Engelbrecht mentioned, this does not have to be limited to the IRS. Again, she said very clearly, this could be the EPA. It could be, something with the Department of Defense. It could be something associated with the Pentagon. It could be something associated with the Department of the Interior. It could be something associated with the ATF. There are hundreds upon hundreds. The DEA, perfect example. How many guys in the DEA know what's going on with the money laundering of hundreds of millions, hundreds of billions of dollars? Look, our DEA is the number one drug dealer on the planet. They are. How many guys who work within the Department of the DEA, Drug Enforcement Agency, how many of them know and have information or access to information that would allow them to come out there and blow the whistle and expose something that Americans would say this is the equivalent of the VA scandal, but at the DEA or at the Department of the Interior or at the Department of Energy? That's what we need, ladies and gentlemen. We need Americans to stand up. Now, and for the record, by the way, the fellow who came out yesterday, and I don't want to take anything away from this guy, the guy at the VA who's a police officer there, he's a detective in the Veterans Administration Police. This guy came out yesterday, and he is exposing the fact that there's drug dealing happening there, that there are cover-ups about abuse, physical, I'm talking about beatings of VA patients and things like that, and that the VA is covering it up. He says he actually prepared a written plan and that there's drug dealing going on in the VA. In other words, these patients get there to the VA, they get their drugs, and a lot of it's painkillers and things like that. And then they go outside right in front of the hospital in a smoking area, and they're sitting there selling and bartering and trading their drugs. He said he prepared a written plan that would provide an undercover operation so that they could at least identify who the targets were of the drug sales. He submitted it to the VA. He did it 2 years ago, and he still hasn't gotten an answer back. Come on, folks. Come on, people. The thing for him was a guy named Todd Cutter, who was a 27-year-old guy who was in their residential drug rehab program, and he died of a drug overdose inside the hospital. I mean, kudos to him for having come out, by the way. And Thomas Fiore is his name. And I got to tell you, he might be one of the first people that should be given an award. Because this guy came out before he knew there was $1 million bounty out there. And he's going to get fired, you know that. And he's going to get persecuted and maybe even prosecuted. You see, that's the problem. How is it our government can prosecute people for coming out and doing the right thing? That's unconscionable to me. First of all, we shouldn't have to whistleblow on government. Government should be accountable in the first place. The fact that you've got to be a whistleblower is bad enough. But when you've got to be fearful to be a whistleblower that you're going to be persecuted and prosecuted, ladies and gentlemen, the world is completely upside down. We can't stomach it. We shouldn't stomach it. And I got to tell you, the VA and this exposure that's happening now is just, and more and more and more is coming out every day. Megyn Kelly did an exclusive last night where she talked, and she had a litany of every notice that they were given, the VA, about this, that was given to the White House about the VA's problems. Memo after memo after notice from the IG even, the Inspector General. And here yesterday, Obama came out, or the other day, came out and said, I can't comment on it until the investigation is complete. He's had repeated investigations, including Senate investigations, that gave him written reports that exposed it. Again, he's a flippin' liar. He knew what was going on. He had reports, written reports, testimony, over and over and over. The Senate knew, the House knew, the White House knew, every person in the administration knew. The only people that didn't know was you. Listen, people, do you realize that the budget, and here's a staggering statistic. The budget for the VA is $90 billion a year. $90 billion. There was an article posted on Fox this morning about a guy who has been to Guantanamo Bay 30 times in 4 years during the Bush administration, 2005 to 2009. And he has done a study on the VA, or the equivalent thereof, the medical services that are applicable to the terrorists that are held at Guantanamo Bay. The patient-to-doctor ratio in Guantanamo Bay is 1.5 inmates to one doctor. Okay? 1.5. The VA and the veterans doctor-to-patient ratio, or patient-to-doctor ratio, is 35 patients to one doctor. You're telling me that there's one doctor for every 1.5 patients at Guantanamo and one doctor for every 35 patients in the veteran system. And by the way, there are 22 million vets in the United States, only 9 million or so of which actually go to are VA qualified. So that ought to tell you something. Where is all the money going? $90 billion a year? I'll tell you where it's going. To fraud, theft, mismanagement, malfeasance, criminal activity. Okay. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to tackle the federal land takeovers that leave our border wide open and exposed. And it's intentional. This is the named location, because the federal government is seeking to undermine, with this new national monument designation, they're seeking to undermine the Border Patrol. It's going to leave the border wide open. And guess what? Border Patrol and local police, state police, county police, everybody is barred from having access to the land. It's got to be left wide open and uninhabited and untraversed. Guess what? That's going to become a fort for illegal immigration. Make sure that you visit our friends over at Battery Station. BatteryStation.com is their website. You can visit those folks over there and get great products and services. They carry every kind of battery known to man. They ship nationwide. They also carry a host of other products which aren't generally on their website, but it gives you an idea of how you can communicate with them and what they do carry. Flashlights and all kinds of battery gear. They also carry all kinds of survival gear, bug-out bag stuff, self-reliance equipment and gear, and you can find them at BatteryStation.com. You can also call them at 417-257-7799. That's 417-257-7799. If you want to, you can visit them. They're located at 303 Washington Avenue in West Plains, Missouri. If you get a chance, visit our friends over at AmericanResumeService.com. They've got a $200 resume package that they're putting together, and they're offering that to all the AVN listeners for a mere $100, of which they're then going to donate all of that money to this program to keep it on the air. It's a fundraiser for America's Voice Now, and you can benefit and participate. AmericanResumeService.com. Make sure that you explain to them that you heard about the program and you're a listener to AVN, and you'll qualify for a 50% reduction on their $200 resume package, and all of that money will be donated to America's Voice Now. I think it's a great program, and I'm very appreciative to them for doing so. Make sure that you see our friends at Pizza Hut, not only nationwide, but here right in hometown West Plains. We'll be back in just a moment. You're listening to America's Voice Now.